Hey yo, what it do, good peoples? What's good? It is your boy Kevin Wright, aka Kev on Mission, coming through with another video for you. And as always, right from the jump, I'm gonna ask you to do a few things. If what you hear, if what you listen to in this video encourages you in any type of way, I'm gonna ask that you do a couple things. I'm gonna ask that you give the video a thumbs up, like it. I'm going to ask that you subscribe to this channel so that you can be put on notice when more content comes in. I'm going to ask that you ring that bell on the right hand side so that you can get all the notifications so you know when everything is coming up in here on this channel. In addition to that, I'm going to ask that you hit that share button, copy and paste, and share this video with somebody else. Hit that copy button, send it to somebody in a text, post it on somebody's wall on Facebook, send it to their Instagram or Facebook DM, however you need to do it. Post it on your Twitter status. Whatever you need to do to get this word out to somebody else, you need to be encouraged by it. That being said, now it's time to get into it. Give me a moment. All right, now this video is going to be continuing some of my thoughts that I've been talking about when it comes to those of us who are creatives, those of us who have stories to write, those of us who are actors, poets, singers, musicians, anywhere in the creative field. You're artists, you actually paint and draw, all of that. I want to speak to the creative folk, and specifically I want to speak to the creative folk that are writers, actors, singers. This is all those arts that involve, and even drawing can tell a story. So let's talk to the storytellers. So I want to revisit a situation that I brought up a couple of videos ago. So if you haven't, go back and take a look at my video on turning red and how Christians should respond. I've recently read another blog from an Asian American pastor that shed a whole lot of light on something that I previously hadn't seen. In some cases, there's no reason why I, an African American male, would have seen it, because I don't have the Asian American culture. In this case, I do have friends who represent that culture, but these are conversations we haven't had. I hope to be able to have some of these conversations now because of the fact that it's going to be important just to be able to have those conversations and to see something specifically when it comes to art, entertainment, storytelling, and the whole nine. So what I found out was, in short, the film Turning Red actually spoke to a lot of people's experience who come from Asian origins, transitioning from their homeland over here to the United States, and the having to dumb down themselves, assimilate, and do other things in order to be accepted over here. Now I'm also going to make one more disclaimer because of the fact that the person who's responsible for the film Turning Red is not a follower of Jesus. I've mentioned some of the things like, look, these are issues that if you have young children as parents, you have the responsibility to sit with your child and walk with your child through these things. You have the responsibility to tell your child, you do not need to see this, and this is why you don't need to see it. You have the responsibility as a parent to be able to speak to those things. So that being understood, that the person responsible for the film is not a Christian, but this pastor was able to speak to the experiences and to be able to draw the areas of redemption from the film. Now, I want to give you some quick notice that Asian Americans in the United States represent 5%, 5.6% of the country. Now you're probably thinking, wait, just 5.6%? Like, that's a small amount. So that means 95% of the folk in this country is not Asian American? Like, what in the world did you expect? All this other kind of stuff. I mean, however, if you look into the fact that 5.6% of Asian Americans equal out to approximately 20 million people, now that says something. While it's only a small percentage as far as the whole of our country, 20 million people is enough people for, let's just pretend the entire Asian American community got behind this film. Let's just pretend that all 20 million folks represented in this country currently got behind this film, purchased, streamed it, advertised it to everybody, the whole 9 yards. 20 million people is enough to boost that film to, while it's only 5%, 5.6% representation, the entire country and the rest of the world would have to take notice simply because folk got behind that. Now, let's circle back to the saints that got creative gifts, that have scripts and poetry and songs and stories. You should get from that that you don't need to have a massive amount of folks getting behind you. You don't need to have the entire country behind you. You don't need to have every single. All you need is us as the saints, because the saints are in numbers and we represent all tribes, tongues, and nations. So if us as the saints can learn for real how to get behind our storytellers, our poets, our singers, our musicians, our painters, we can make moves to where, whether or not, because there are going to be people who obviously may not appreciate, well, just like there are many Christians who didn't appreciate the message that Turning Red stated, and they were quite vocal. And I've already said it, and I'll say it again. Making rants is not the move. That's being reactive and not being proactive. Being proactive is what I'm talking about right now. Learning how to get behind our storytellers, learning how to get behind our script writers, learning how to support them, because there are so many different types of creatives that have given their gifts to Jesus. I said it last time and I'll say this again too. There's somebody who's going to fit your palette. You may not prefer this one, but there's another one. You may not prefer that one. There's another one. There's enough folk out there where somebody is going to fit the specific palette you have, and there's going to be more than one of you that palette is going to fill, that we as the saints can get together and support our peoples, so that when it even comes, I mean, classic example, like look at the Kendrick brothers over time. And it was crazy because if you look at their earlier films, you can see that they took what they had at the time and said, we're going to make it do what it do. Let's make this work. And if you look at what happened over time, now these films are getting exposed to larger audiences, coming out in the theaters. The general population, War Room in 2015, when it came out, it went #1 in its first week. All that was the Saints saying, yo, we gonna watch this, we gonna support this, because we got something that we want to see. And that's the thing, if we want to see it, we have to support it. And that just goes across the board. It does not matter who does not like it, because when those of us who do like it get behind and support it, it makes no difference. Like, there are, in a natural sense, like there are plenty of people, there are probably huge numbers of folks who cannot stand Beyonce. However, she has been relevant since the 90s because she has a very strong fan base of folk that continue to buy content, that continue to show up for concerts, that continue to show up for things she's a part of. Everybody in the country is not a fan of hers, but she don't have to have the entire country. All she has to have is a base. Another example Even though Tyler Perry plays to the Saints, I'm not going to get into some specific things right now. But if you look at where he started at, he was sleeping out of his car while putting on plays and eventually wanting to make moves. But one of the things he said in those early days, he did not want to have to move to Hollywood and play by Hollywood rules. And to this day, he just has not moved to Hollywood. Matter of fact, he has his own studio down in Atlanta, and that thing is bigger than anything that Hollywood can produce right now. Like everything you can think of, he got it. And in those early days, as he was out there working them plays and eventually working out TV shows and movies and all that stuff, he was determined, I don't want to play by the rules of Hollywood. So he took the little bit. And now here's the other thing. Tyler Perry knew how to play to the churches. So as much as some of y'all Saints can say what y'all want, but it was the Saints who initially got him in position to finally push him further out to where he is right now. So let's talk about where we as the Saints spend our dollars. Hallelujah, somebody. So in the same vein, right, it wasn't everybody. I know a whole lot of folk who cannot stand Tyler Perry, who cannot stand Madea. A whole lot of folk are like, when is this dude going to sit down somewhere? But his territory seems to keep expanding, and the reason is because it was a small fan base in the beginning, and that smaller fan base has grown quite a bit. But still, it's because he knew how to create art that spoke to a certain representation, and that representation of folks continue to push it forward. So that being said, I'll say it again, you don't need to have the entire country behind you. You just need to learn how to reach those of us in the Saints who are about what it is God has given you. And I'll repeat one more time that there is somebody who gonna fit your palate. I said in the last video that it is a very ridiculous excuse to attempt to say things like, well, if I prefer an iPhone, I'm not going to buy an Android phone. There are plenty of folks who will buy both an iPhone for their preference, and there are plenty of folks who prefer Android and will buy them. Both of these phones have a place on the market because there's enough people on both ends, no matter which technology device you prefer, there's enough buyers for them both. Plain and simple. Because if nobody wanted Androids, Androids wouldn't still be hanging on. Look at the BlackBerry. Look at some other phones that have been out here. Once them demand decrease, that So in the same way, us creative folk need to understand that there's peeps out there who are representative in the body of Christ who can appreciate our gift and even can appreciate the journey too. Because let me circle back to the Kendrick brothers. The quality of films was not what it is now when they first started. However, they were able to garner support as they started. They took what they had and they built on it and built on it and built on it. And now they're able to make moves. Like I said, War Room in 2015 came out at #1. And these are just small things. There's a whole lot more I can get into. But I'm going to say it again. Storytellers, writers, actors, creative peoples, understand that there's enough of an audience to get you forward. To the rest of the Saints who are watching this and the rest of y'all who are listening to this, there's enough folks out there that fit your palate. And in some cases, you are going to have to do some digging. You are going to have to do some research. You are going to have somebody put you on. Those of you who are creative peeps and you're coming across some of these folks, like I tell you at the beginning, and I'm going to tell you again as I prepare to take it home, that like this, hop in these comments, subscribe, ring the bell, and get all of the notifications. And also take this video and share it with somebody else. Also shoot me an email at kevonmission2.0@gmail.com so I can hear from you. Push this thing on. You can share this thing on social media. Share it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. All of those things help get the word out about this channel that's here to minister to college students here to minister to the campus ministry staff and those who have a heart for this upcoming generation. And because this upcoming generation is a creative peoples, videos like this fit that specific mold. That being said, I've said it already, one more time. Like, hop in the comments, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, share this video with somebody if this video has spoken and encouraged you. Alright, until next time, I'll see y'all soon. Peace.